So what we're going to do today is flexible budgeting. What we did last week was cash budget. We're going to look a bit at the production budget again today and flexing the production budget. Today we're going to draw up a flexible budget. We're going to look at the importance of a flexible budget, the disadvantages of a fixed budget, why is a fixed budget better than a fixed budget, and how do we flex a budget. So we're going to do 4 lecture examples on flexing the budget. In the last one we're going to do the variance analysis as well. And we're going to look at the performance of a company using flexible budget. Okay, so we know why we budget. We budget to assist with planning and to coordinate the activities of the organization, to communicate plans, motivate managers. Often managers are given incentive bonuses based on their performance relative to their budgeted performance. So if they outperform their budget, they very often get their bonuses are based on that. And it forms a form of control and to look at the performance of management. So these are the general advantages of budgeting, and then later on I'm going to show you the advantages of flexible budgeting. So what we did yesterday was a cash budget. What we're going to look at today is a fixed budget, production budget versus a flexible budget production. Okay, and it's not a difficult section to use. So these are some of the benefits of budgeting. It serves as a tool to help organizations achieve their objectives, ensures that information is readily available, helps the organization manage its operating costs. So managing the operating costs is a very important part of budgeting, contributes to effective management, and ensures that any deviations are noticed and addressed in time. Okay, so the fixed budget looks at production at 10,000, say, units. But what happens if you produce 11,500 units? So what we're going to do today is we're going to take the fixed budget of 10,000 and say, okay, well, we produced 11,500. So the budgeting process happens in advance. It's a planning tool, but then we actually have produced so many, and now we want to compare what we actually achieved to our budget, and there's no point in comparing it back to 10,000 units because we know that things like direct materials and direct labor are not going to be the same for 11,500 units compared to 10,000 units. So we create a flexed budget at the actual level of production, and that's why this unit is a very important stepping block to the next unit on standard costing and variance analysis. Okay, so we're going to look at how to use the budget as a tool after the fact tonight. It needs to try to control the manufacturing costs, and this one specifically is an advantage of the flexible budget. It enables you to compare like with like. So you're taking your 10,000 budget, flexing it to 11,500 and saying, okay, at a production of 11,500, our direct material should have been that, but it was that. What happened? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So we can look at the variances and what the variances are due to. Are the variances due to cost increases from our suppliers? Are the variances due to the fact that we are being careless in the use of the direct materials and using more than we should be using? Have we got too much wastage? Okay, so that's what the flexible budget is about. And here's your little picture. So these are the different advantages of flexible budgeting. It helps you plan for production at different levels, and it helps you compare like with like. It's part of your strategic planning process. It helps you control the allocation of resources and coordinate activities across departments. It's an effective means of controlling costs and identifying costs that are higher than they should be. And it also helps us to identify potential production bottlenecks. So if something is going wrong, it's easy to pick it up in a flexible budget. So these are the steps that we use in a flexible budget. We have to know which costs are variable, which costs are fixed, and which costs are mixed. It's really important that we can identify the different types of costs because we treat these costs differently in a flexible budget. So we have to identify the budgeted sales range, so it can be used as a tool for when are we going to plan to produce 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000, and it can also be a way of analyzing the costs after the fact. So we identify the fixed cost, we identify the variable cost, and we identify any other stepped or mixed costs as well. So that's your production budget, and your production budget is then broken into your direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overheads. We're going to look at these for a particular product. So you can look at it for the whole company or for a particular product. So if you're looking at it for the whole company, then you would have a direct materials budget for the whole company. What we're doing is we're looking at the production budget for a particular product. So the best way to learn about flexible budgeting is actually to do flexible budgeting. So that's exactly what we're going to do tonight. So I've given you, this is a 3-month budget for this item AAX for months October, November, December 2017 at 12,000 units. But we want to prepare a flexible budget for between 10,000 and 14,000 units. So you'll have 3 columns. One for 10,000, one for 12,000, and one for 14,000. So this is a budget being used as a planning tool. But what if we only produce 10,000? What if we produce 14,000? Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to assume it will take 3 months to manufacture this product and prepare a flexible budget for production levels of 10,000, 12,000, 14,000. I've given you the budget for 14,000, and I've told you which items are variable, which items are mixed, and which items are fixed. So you've got 1 mixed item and 3 that are fixed, 1 that is variable. So this is for the 3 months. So these fixed amounts are not going to change whether you produce 10,000 or 14,000. So the first thing that you do in your budget is put the fixed amounts in, because they're not going to change. So these 12,000, 3,000, and 6,000 are going to stay constant across these here. 12,000, 3,000, and 6,000 are going to stay constant. Then we need to fill in these amounts here and work out the total cost of manufacture. Okay, so we're going to take the variable costs now. We're reducing 12,000 units, and these are 10 Rand each. So obviously to produce 10,000 units is going to be 10,000 times 10 Rand. To produce 14,000 units is going to be 14,000 times 10 Rand. And the same here, okay? So for the 10,000 column, it's going to be 10,000 times 15 Rand. For the 14,000, it's going to be 10,000 times 14,000 times 15 Rand. Okay, so I want you to fill in the 10,000 Rand column and the 40,000 Rand column and get your total cost of manufacture. 100,000 for direct labor, 150,000 for direct materials, and you got your prime cost of 250. Did you get the 13,000 for electricity?
Yes.
Excellent, okay. And 12,000, these stayed the same, and you get 284. And then the other one, did you get 388,000 as your total? Okay, look at what it says here. 1,000 Rand a month is 3 months, so that's 3,000 plus 1 Rand a unit. What we're doing 10,000 units, so that's 10,000 plus 3,000 is 13,000. Right, lecture example 2 now.
Yeah, in a year's top
Okay,
plan.
moving on.
And then you add.
So now you have not been given the actual budget. You've just been given the cost and the cost driver, okay? So these are per unit, and these are per annum and per annum, and then this is a mixed one. 5,000 Rand fixed plus 2 Rand a unit. This is mixed, 1,000 Rand fixed plus 1 Rand a unit. So the first thing you do, okay, this is for the whole year. You've got to know what period you're dealing with. So the 60,000 and the 24,000 are going to stay the same at every level of activity. 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, and 100,000. Okay? And then you need to do the variable ones. So the variable direct labor for a level of 70,000 is going to be 70,000 units times 10,000 times 10 Rand a unit is going to be 700,000. Not so? This is
Yes.
Say that again. Say that.
direct labor.
Yes.
10 Rand a unit times 70,000 units must be 700,000 Rand.
Yes.
Okay? And then direct materials at 20 rand a unit times 70,000 units is going to be 1.4 million. Exactly, okay? And then the mixed ones you will do last, okay? So here you've got 70,000 units times 1 rand a unit is going to be 17,000 rand plus
12.
1,000. So it's going to be 71,000 rand. Okay?
Wait, is that 1,000 for the whole year? It's not per month.
Yeah, good question.
It's just 1,000.
For the whole year.
It must be, yeah.
So then that's
So,
6 weeks.
no, 71,000.
Okay, so it's for the whole year.
So this is what you're going to do. You've got the level 70,000, 80,000, 90,000 and 100,000 rand. We're just practicing the same thing. 0.1 million for your 70,000, your prime costs. Then 2.4, 2.7 and 3 million. And then some of these were mixed and some of these were fixed. So these are the mixed ones, 71,000, 81,000, 91,000, 101. And these were fixed 60,000, and those were fixed, and the other factory overheads were 2 rand, so it's 140 plus 545, 165, 185, 205. So your total manufacturing cost for 70,000 units is 2.4 million versus 3.39 million for 100,000 units. But now comes the interesting thing, is now you work out the cost per unit, and the more units you produce, the lower the cost per unit is going to be, not so. So now, once we've got, you can just put the totals in the bottom and then you can do it at home. So put the 2.4, 2.73, 3.06, 3.39, so that you know that you're correct when you do it. Just put the totals, the bottom line. So 2.4 million divided by 70,000 units gives you 34.29, but if you produce 100,000 units, it gives you 33.90. So where you've got a high fixed cost, the more units you produce, you're spreading that cost of the fixed costs over more units, so your cost per unit comes down. So they've asked you to prepare a flexible budget which they can use for the second half of 2017. So this is an example where you've got your actual costs for the first 6 months, and now you must prepare a budget for the next 6 months, and you know this is going to go up by this, that's going to go up by that. Okay, so what is going to go up? Okay, the fixed costs are going to increase by 10%, and the variable costs are going to increase by 15%, and depreciation is going to remain unchanged. You've been given the budget at 90,000 units, and you must, but this is up to June. Don't forget, the variable costs are going to increase by 15%, and the fixed costs are going to increase by 10%. So now we must change the fixed costs, but they're still going to be the same for 100,000, 110,000, and 120,000, okay? It is fixed per month, but this is the 6-month figure. Okay, because this is a 6-month budget. So you've got to take these 6-month figures and either multiply them by 1.1 for the 10% or multiply them by 1.2. So this figure here of 84,000 isn't 84,000 rand a month. It's 84,000 for the 6 months because this is the budget for the 6 months to June. Okay, this 84,000 rand is not the monthly figure. It's the figure for 6 months. So your fixed costs are increasing by 10%. So this 84 rand is going to go up by 10% for the next 6 months. 810 divided by 90, or 810,000 divided by 90,000, you get 9 rand a unit. That's the price it was. Now you must multiply that by 1.15 to get the new price going forward, which is 10 rand 35. And then you multiply the 10 rand 35 by 100,000 or 110,000 or 120,000. 147,400, 4,208,500, and 4,569,600. So here you've got a rate per unit of 10 rand 35, which you then multiply by 100,000, 110,000, 120,000. Here you've got a rate of 23 Rand, which you multiply by 100,000, 110,000, 120,000. It said on the very last line, depreciation does not change, so the depreciation stayed the same. The variable overheads, you also use the rate of, you increase them by 15%, and then the fixed overheads you increase by only 10%. Okay. Okay, the variable overheads, I'm going to go back to here. Okay, so it's 2 Rand 40, and it increases by 15%, so it must increase by 36 cents. So it's 2 Rand 76, am I right? 2 Rand 76 per unit, and then you do 2 Rand 76 times 10,000, 2 Rand 76 times 110,000, 2 Rand 76 times 331. So what confused most of you here was that I gave you the rate of 2 Rand 40 per unit. If you take 2 Rand 40 times 19,000, you'll get 216. So if you did 216,000 divided by 90,000, you would have got 2 Rand 40. You multiply by 1.15 to increase it by 15%. So you would have still been, there are two ways you can be given it. You can either be told it's variable, it's fixed, or it's mixed, okay, and just be given that. Or you can be given it like the previous examples, where you're told this is the rate per unit or the rate per whatever, and then you have to calculate it.
And then the fixed cost.
Okay, so the fixed costs were 84,000, all right? And we simply know that they increased by 10%. So we don't look at the number of units when it comes to the fixed costs. So it's 84,000 plus 8,400 is 96,400. 92,400. So you're simply taking the 84,000 and increasing it. So 84,000 times 1.1 gives you 92,400. The fixed costs have been increased by 10%, but they're the same for every period. Okay. The only one that is particularly difficult is when you have a mixed cost and when you get told it's so much per unit, that the variable portion is so much a unit, and you have to work backwards. That's tricky. Okay. Can we move on to question 4? The last question for tonight. Right. Okay. So what I've asked for now is I've given you the figures, the fixed budget at 100,000 units, okay? But we produced 115,000 units. So we've got to work backwards from here to work out what the cost was per unit, and then multiply by 115 to get the flex budget. So I want you to look at this fixed budget at 100,000 units and flex it to 115,000 units, okay? So where it says fixed budget at 115, you can just write flex, and then that first column I want you to fill in based on what you know about the budget at 100,000 units. So you're going to take what's there, divided by 100, multiply by 115. Because you're moving it from 100,000 to 115,000. Okay? Or you can divide it by 100,000, multiply by 115,000 if you want to. But if you take what's there, for example, 1.2 million, divide by 100, multiply by 115 will give you the fixed equivalent. We have to move this 1.2 million. This 1.2 million is 100% variable. Okay? So the long way around would be to take 120,000 divided by 100,000 multiplied by 115,000. Okay? But I'm saying you can just take this, divide by 100, multiply by 150, and then you're going to get the right answer. Okay? But if it's easier for you to do it like the straightforward way, and stay on the railway track, then do it the straightforward way. But you can fly. Divide by 100, multiply by 150, you're going to put in there, and then you're going to flex it to to 115,000 units. Okay. So this is what you need to fill in based on the actual. No, based on the budgeted here. Okay. You're going to work with this fixed budget and flex it from 100,000 units to 115,000 units and put the amounts in here. Okay, so we took the 100,000 figure, divided it by 100,000, multiplied by 115,000. So we got 1,380,000 for direct materials, 1,610,000 for direct labor. The depreciation did not change, okay? And you can see there's no variance. Depreciation very often doesn't change, okay? And then the variable overhead, it was 4 Rand, so you could have taken the 400,000 divided by 100,000, you would have got 4 Rand, multiplied by 115,000 gave you 460,000. And your other fixed overheads, you remain the same. Okay, so whether you produce 100,000 or 115,000, the fixed overhead remains the same. But this is what it actually cost you. Okay, so if you went out, God help us, to Woolworths and planned to buy 1,380,000 Rand worth of groceries, and you actually bought 1,420,000 Rand. So you bought the same groceries you planned to buy, but instead of them costing you 1,380,000, they cost you 1,420,000. That means you paid more than you should have. That's an unfavorable variance. So the variance, which we're going to be doing next week in standard costing, is comparing what it actually cost you to what you planned. But you have to flex the budget first, because you must compare apples with apples. If you compare these figures here to these figures here, you would have unfavorable variances all the time, because your actual production was 15,000 units more than your planned budgeted production. So step 1 in standard costing is to flex the budget. So we did that here, we flexed the budget, and here we find, yes, there's an unfavorable variance of 40,000 Rand, but here there's a favorable variance of 30,000 Rand. Do you agree? Yes. Because it cost us less than we budgeted for. Okay, so that's what we do. There's no variance here. Here there's a 40,000. Is this 40,000 variance favorable or unfavorable?
Favorable.
Exactly, it cost us less. Okay, so by doing this exercise, although we're jumping ahead, we've actually prepared ourselves really nicely for what we're going to be doing next week. So you're not going to come in like cold and not know what it's about. Okay, so this is what budgeting and variance analysis is all about, okay? But what we end up doing is, we end up taking this 30,000 variance and saying, okay, how much of it was due to the difference in price, and how much of it was due to the difference in the use of the materials, okay? So that's what we do. So we divide it into a price variance and a usage or efficiency variance. That's what we're going to be doing next week. So I just wanted you to have a little foretaste of what we're going to be doing next week. Okay, so we took the 100,000 figure, divided it by 100,000, multiplied by 115,000. So we got 1,380,000 for direct materials, 1,610,000 for direct labor. The depreciation did not change, okay? And you can see there's no variance. Depreciation very often doesn't change, okay? And then the variable overhead, it was 4 Rand, so you could have taken the 400,000 divided by 100,000, you would have got 4 Rand, multiplied by 115,000 gave you 460,000. And your other fixed overheads, you remain the same. Okay, so whether you produce 100,000 or 115,000, the fixed overhead remains the same. But this is what it actually cost you. Okay, so if you went out to Woolworths and planned to buy 1,380,000 Rand worth of groceries, and you actually bought 1,420,000 Rand. So you bought the same groceries you planned to buy, but instead of them costing you 1,380,000, they cost you 1,420,000. That means you paid more than you should have. That's an unfavorable variance. So the variance, which we're going to be doing next week in standard costing, is comparing what it actually cost you to what you planned. But you have to flex the budget first, because you must compare apples with apples. If you compare these figures here to these figures here, you would have unfavorable variances all the time, because your actual production was 15,000 units more than your planned budgeted production. So step one in standard costing is to flex the budget. So we did that here, we flexed the budget, and here we find, yes, there's an unfavorable variance of 40,000 Rand, but here there's a favorable variance of 30,000 Rand. Do you agree? Yes. Because it cost us less than we budgeted for. Okay, so that's what we do. There's no variance here. Here there's a 40,000. Is this 40,000 variance favorable or unfavorable?
Favorable.
Exactly, it cost us less. Okay, so by doing this exercise, although we're jumping ahead, we've actually prepared ourselves really nicely for what we're going to be doing next week. So you're not going to come in like cold and not know what it's about. Okay, so this is what budgeting and variance analysis is all about, okay? But what we end up doing is, we end up taking this 30,000 variance and saying, okay, how much of it was due to the difference in price, and how much of it was due to the difference in the use of the materials, okay? So that's what we do. So we divide it into a price variance and a usage or efficiency variance. That's what we're going to be doing next.